Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing Do the Right Thing, directed by Spike Lee, Under the Skin by Jonathan Glazer. We have newly released Luck by Peggy Holmes, Beast by Balthazar Kormaker, and Dragon Ball Super Superhero, directed by Tetsuro Kodama. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
It's going all right for me. How was your week of movies, man?
Truly a random week of movies. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
are
liked it.
all over the map.
I liked it a lot.
Good. I'm glad.
Just plucking from old lists, plucking from... How did we come up with this?
Under the Skin was definitely for watching something I enjoyed. Do the Right Thing was, a list from forever ago, and then the new releases just were legitimately all over the map. But to get anime, to get horror, to get thriller, to get a kids movie, we're all over.
There's
the
something
map.
here for everybody.
Right. It is the buffet of daily ratings.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. We're stepping back into 1989. This movie's called Do the Right Thing. It's a Spike Lee film. And how early on was this in his career? And overall, how was it?
Yeah, I want to say this is probably third major release. Spike Lee, definitely one of those directors that did a lot with the music industry for music videos and tying into that. Do the Right Thing is without a doubt his most famous, what skyrocketed him to fame.
Okay.
What a lot consider to be his best film with that. So that obviously piqued my interest. This was on my list forever, to tackle eventually, because I have not seen this film going into this.
Oh, nice. Okay.
A lot of what this film is largely considered is honestly a masterpiece on how it handles racism of all types. It's not just, a racism against African Americans or racism against one. It's kind of a study of almost city racism, de facto racism,
and prejudice of all kinds of
all kinds, exactly.
Right.
Between each other, outsiders looking in, insiders looking out. It's all over the map. Which is, again, I was just curious to see. I mean, this is what 89, right?
Yeah, interesting to tackle in 2022 when it's so in our face.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I was definitely, I wanted to tackle something serious this week, understanding it was going to be all over the map. I said, why not? So,
No, I like it. I will say it's funny because this is 89. It's like taking a step back in the past to watch something that's very present.
Absolutely.
How was it? How did it go?
It is a very, very good movie. I'm happy to say that this film holds up not only for today, but also as a very unique film. I'll definitely go into kind of some of my notes later on in discussing. This might be a very amateurish film. This feels amateurish, but...
low budget kind of deal?
Yeah, low budget, but also doesn't really play by, formality or play by the rules of a lot of films. And I think that was refreshing for me. This was definitely a positive mark for it. So the story is structured around a single scorching hot summer day in New York, and we follow a block of an ensemble of characters. I mean, we've used that term ensemble of characters, but this is truly an ensemble cast. No one character truly gets all of the spotlight. This includes Spike Lee himself, Giancarlo Esposito, way before Breaking Bad, which I was just fascinated.
He must have looked pretty damn young.
Yeah. A totally different character. Just it definitely stood out to me because he's now become such a kind of not cult hit? I don't know. What would you?
I don't know. Maybe he's not completely a household name, but when you see him, it's like, oh, this guy's in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of deal. Yeah,
exactly.
Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. We also have Sam Jackson, Rosie Perez, and honestly, countless more. There is a truly
familiar faces constantly popping up.
Absolutely. Some early on in their career, for instance, with Sam Jackson. I mean, this is pre-Goodfellas, even. You know, this is anything that we covered on probably earliest Sam Jackson for the podcast too. So yeah, and I think a lot of the identity of this film is in how we see these characters. It's through the camera work specifically. I would call this very bold camera work. There are a lot of angles, a lot of tilts to this. Almost my initial note on this, to the point that it's a bit overused, actually. But it's 100% its own style. This is not a tilt of a camera in a Dutch angle, where maybe even on previous reviews I've criticized that a little bit for being lazy of communicating kind of an unease. Instead, it's almost like Spike Lee. And I honestly don't know who the cinematographer is on this, but it's almost like they're not happy with a landscape shot of individuals. And they can't do it necessarily a portrait, in a cinematic experience, no less than 89, we're kind of before that in kind of a modern landscape. It's almost as if they're tilting the camera to get more of the character on screen. More of a full body shot of the character, or more of a maybe even embellished or magnified version of their persona, or even their perspective on what's going on the street, basically.
Was it too busy? Was it too...
Like I said, my initial note was like, whoa, this is overused, but it kind of is also the point, and it's kind of 100% the style, because... Okay. The cinematography appears to have loose rules when this is being thrown in there at first, but it's about creating these character portraits, kind of windows into their perspectives on the block, and I wound up going completely 180, being annoyed at it at first and maybe having some serious critical notes towards it, thinking it was a more of a lazy choice, but it is the point in itself. It may be just a bit jarring because you're expecting that shot to be one of suspense, something that you would see in horror, but again, I think... a pure theory here. I think Spike Lee and his cameraman definitely are using this more so just to get more of the character on screen. That's at least my kind of take on this artistically. It'll
be interesting to. I don't think we rated it on the podcast for the years that we've been doing this.
Sure.
Did we cover Malcolm X also by Spike Lee?
No.
So maybe that's something that would be interesting to do somewhat in the near future. Spike used the same cinematographer.
Oh, really?
So I wonder if they utilize that same exact thing.
Sure.
But interesting.
Yeah. I think the only thing Spike Lee wise maybe was Black Klansman that I don't know if we covered that on the podcast. I don't think so.
No, wait, which one?
Black Klansman is with Adam Driver and Denzel's son.
What KKK type movie did we do? I think in the 80s.
You're thinking of Judas and the Black Messiah. Not KKK, but Radical, certainly.
Yes, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I my point in saying all this is that I went from being very critical about it and then completely going 180. And that, once again, this plays into some of my notes that there are amateur elements to this film, but I think it really does have a good execution to it. The amateur elements are worth it for it. One of my favorite of these characters in these character portraits has to be Sam Jackson as the radio DJ on the block. Honestly, a perfect use of in-story characters being a reason we hear licensed music within the film. Folks, I critique soundtrack a lot in my reviews, but understand it's simple to get praise from me. If it's a part of the story, that's all it works. That's what I need to make it work. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just a very simple thing of Sam being kind of a local DJ of a low tier radio station on the block. He comments on it. We get kind of some narration through this. It's used within story and definitely gets a huge pass from me.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Let's talk about that story. We really weave in and out of main characters. It creates pocket scenarios where they are given a spotlight to show their view on life. And some of that is for comedy. Some of that is for setting building of New York at the time. I think a lot of these spotlights are just to kind of create a feel to the world. It maybe sounds odd, but I kind of almost took them as world building, being a time capsule, watching this in modern day.
Okay, sure.
For 89.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But most successfully, and this is where all the praise goes towards this film, is that these moments are the spotlights on the city's de facto racism. On the surface, we see conflict between groups of all colors, but in real life, it's much more complicated than one side versus another. This is haves versus have-nots, races, age, gender, generational gaps.
Anywhere that there is a difference within human beings, he tries to tackle.
Exactly.
Is
And
it nauseating?
No.
Is it like annoying?
In fact, that's where I wanted to watch this in modern day, because I feel like something like this would be tackled in the modern film landscape, but they would make it one note. But in this, kind of no one gets out with their skin alive. No one gets out alive with their skin
Everyone's
still on.
a gray character.
Yeah, everyone's gray. Yeah. Everyone's got a little bit of a hot take on one or many of the groups on the block. I found it to be, I say de facto racism in the sense of like, my kind of, traditional historical understanding of like 5 Points neighborhood in New York. Everyone hated each other because they were just kind of different, and they were, by their surroundings, kind of were racist of each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
In just the same way, we have 89, one single block being a study of this, and everyone from African Americans to Italians to Koreans to the cops to old timers to new kids on the block.
I could see how that would be. If you're hitting on everything, I could see how that could be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where, again, I was coming very positive with this. And if anything, I had my knives out, because I was thinking, is this just going to be something that
a modern-day Spike Lee film, actually, when you really look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, how Black Klansman kind of ends with a little bit of a preachiness to it.
All of Chirac.
Sure. That is not present in here. Everyone is under the magnifying glass, and everyone is gray, like you said. I think that's hits the nail on the head.
Everyone is a victim, and everyone is victimizing at the same time. I do like that.
Yeah, and it plays into the messiness of the story. On the surface, the city streets are pitting all different types of conflict, and if anything, once again, to this amateurish feel of the film, it's like, wow, it's almost like we're constantly fighting. We're just spotlighting different fights. But there are moments of brevity. There are moments, again, where there's this world building aspect. There's certainly comedy in the film.
Yeah, do we have fun with Sam Jackson?
Yes,
if he's an MC,
there's many jokes and many things meant to take lighthearted. If anything, some of the racism is meant to take lighthearted because of these, like the old timers, for instance, on the block. They're just speaking how they would always speak, but it's also a very realistic take for that reason.
Right.
They're not necessarily, no one's really censoring themselves, but it's very realistic how it's just coming off in conversation. They're not at fault for that. If anything, the film is just saying, hey, this is that perspective. Let's jump around the block of these different perspectives,
Absolutely.
I would say the ending, isn't too satisfying. No one's really coming away as a victor here. I wasn't certainly expecting a Hollywood bow on top. If anything, that would be totally out of place for such a realistic depiction of prejudice. But when it comes to not having a super formal structure, I think it does hurt the film a tiny bit for me. I'll end with talk about this, and I've been flirting enough with the idea of amateurish, films. That can be an insult or a praise.
That's so true.
As an insult, the final execution, it's lacking polish, it's lacking follow through, it's lacking maybe even a little bit of vision. And as far as a positive, it could mean, the production does not have constraints. It is boundless. It is, able to achieve something unique by not knowing the rules, almost, so to speak. A perfect example of this is we covered Kin and we covered Dead Man. I would say Kin is amateurish because of trying to fit a unique story into something more cookie cutter, or Dead Man, it was a Western, but didn't feel like a Western at all, and achieved something very unique in its amateurishness. And bottom line, I mean, I think this film is on the positive side of amateurish. Clearly a very personal production for Spike Lee. He's writing here as well. And I would be lying if I said the film's message didn't ring all the more true today. But if it gets a strong rating from me, it is for how uniquely the story is told, and there is substance in Spike's unhampered style. We will go ahead and give Do the Right Thing a well-deserved 83.
Whoa, my God. Are you serious?
I'm telling. It was a good movie.
Whoa!
I'm telling you, and very, very unique. There is not an imitator of this, even among maybe Spike's peers. Yeah, even maybe among his own film.
83 is a good score. I mean, this is a very good score.
Absolutely.
Wow, it beats out Predator by 1 point. Wow.
Very surreal to compare those two films.
I'll tell you right now, I was not expecting that. I mean, it was nominated for 2 Oscars.
Sure.
I mean, like you said, it's probably what he's most known for. But geez, I mean, in 83 that must have been very, very good.
And believe me, folks at home, I'm not just plugging this in. I hear it's good, and therefore my review is good. Much like Brazil.
No, we know we know well enough that
much like Brazil, if anything, I wanted to watch it because the hype's so real. I wanted to say, all right, it can't be this good. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So.
Okay.
It is very, very good, and a great movie, and definitely in that make time to watch it that the 80s represent.
Damn, okay. Very surprised. You can be very good at taking politics and leaving them at the door when you sit down and watch a movie.
Yes.
Much more than me, I think much more than most, which you can see, I think, in your review of the...
Don't Look Up.
Yes. So you know what I mean? You can walk in a room, put all your... Put your political things and put them to the side when watching it.
Yeah, just consume.
Do you think it's a case like this where I watch it, I'll come off with something different? Somebody other politically motivated will have the same way, or do you think like no, it was nominated for Oscar? There's a reason why this is so well known for Spike Lee.
I think if anything, it could almost offend all audiences because again, no one's really more on the moral high ground. You know what I mean? Someone will make a valid point and then be damned in the next scene when we see it through a different perspective. So. Hell, maybe in like a Don't Look Up, a lot of modern audiences could hate this for how much they are in the line of fire among all the things they think, they might be superior over.
Right. Very interesting. I'd be interested in watching it really and comparing with you.
Yeah.
And then watch me just get angry. I'll have to donate and write in and say how bad of a score it was. No, but 83. I said,
you pretend to gasp.
This does have, it does have more praise than a Don't Look Up though as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would say I'm contrarian with Don't Look Up. So,
okay, so we're gonna jump ahead here. That was an 89 with an 83 on Do the Right Thing, which is a great surprise. We're in 2013 here. This is Scarlett Johansson. This is Under the Skin, directed by Jonathan Glazer. And what is this film? I think if people saw the cover, they would know exactly what it is, or that it's popped up here on Netflix or something like that. It's around streaming services, or maybe that's just because I'm that person who has constantly seen this and has not actually watched it.
Right.
So, what is Under the Skin? What story's being told here? And how do we like it?
Well, I mean, as far as a story being told, this is straight up sci-fi horror, and last week got me thinking, gee, maybe there's something to watching movies I like. And I really love this film. This film is a cathartic watch for me. One of my favorite A24 films. It may not be the highest ranked. I honestly don't know what that would be.
A24?
Yeah.
Very good question, actually.
Maybe we can clock that back. But man, do I love this movie. Probably this is 4 watches under my belt. This being the 5th watch, and it's just so dark and twisted and cool. I mean, it really hits a lot of notes from me. Fair warning, though, and believe me, I will be the first to say that A24 tag means that this is a slow burn. My argument, though, this film is not slow for slow's sake, as sometimes it feels that way with A24 films. It's like, I imagine they bring the first edit and they're like, let's stretch this out a little bit. But I would argue this film has a follow-through. Slow burn, the difference between slow burn and slow is that slow burn has an objective and a usefulness to the time. There is a almost a subjective worth itness to where we end up in the story. And I think Under the Skin definitely lands with that.
Okay.
So.
Now, it is only an hour and 48, but even with that hour, we're under 2 hours, but still.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But part of this is, it is a horror, so
Sure.
we're not trying to get a lot of action here. This film hits on something important for me to call it great, and that you don't want to take your eyes off of it. Maybe that comes from my love of Scarlett Johansson.
Everybody loves ScarJo, though. There's very few people I come across that don't like her.
She's great to look at. She's got brunette hair in this. It's great. But really, it's because the film is truly shocking in the best way. I'll go into some comparisons in a moment. But like I said, this is sci-fi horror, and that horror is built from the disconnect of anything human. In ways, this reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing, where the audience has to almost fight back empathy, because believe me, the creature on screen does not share our human empathy. And the film very, very well plays to that and almost preys on it, as we're expecting maybe a glimmer of light, but time after time again, there's nothing human about the horror here, and that is the terror of the horror. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
And
it's the unknown,
Exactly. Bingo.
Yeah.
That's where this kind of comes into taking sci-fi horror and translating it to maybe, or transforming it maybe into a cosmic horror, that there is unknown aspects to it, and that's kind of the point of the genre.
Yeah, and cosmic horror we brought up before, and that does... It strikes a chord with you in a certain way as well.
Oh, yeah. Mainly because I think, for me, a scary movie is about the unknown, bottom line. That's almost like a fundamental to it. So that being the point of the story, is going to hit well with me.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we talked about seeing life through an alien's eyes in The Man Who Fell to Earth review. This is how it is fully done. The sheer disconnect from anything human is how the horror and the terror is built in this film. This film also kind of captures a subtle joy of people watching. That's where, if anything, a lot of the slowness comes from. There's just such a third person type of perspective to us watching things through Scarlett Johansson's eyes, us watching other potential targets through to Scarlett Johansson's eyes.
Okay.
And then even in the moments where we see her interacting with other characters on screen, it's always at arm's length. We never get too close that we can't see what Scarlett is maybe doing to mimic, to maybe, kind of copy and entice people in. And definitely it gives us a good distance to see our characters and how they are going down a slippery path and getting involved with Scarlett Johansson that is going to end in a very bad way for them. So it is, I really think we experience in a great way what the creature is taking notice of, and primarily that is being in Scarlett Johansson's skin. You're going to have guys noticing you. You're going to have the eyes follow on, someone so beautiful. So that plays into the story as well, and I'm just, I can't tell you, that is so great to... that's inspired casting right there. You're taking someone and using, if anything, what the audience knows them, what is almost self-evident to us, and using that as a factor in story crafting and storytelling of this alien perspective. That's
cool.
I love it.
Yeah, it really is completing the whole circle there.
Yeah. So believe me, I could definitely go on and on about it, but more than most, as it is with a lot of horror, I don't want to spoil too much.
I feel like we can't talk about this too much. Yeah. Which that's okay. That's a good thing.
But this is where it's at. This is a movie for me worth going in maybe as blind as possible. And I've been obviously talking about a lot of aspects that hit on what this is about, but sci-fi horror is what it's about. And, that's what you're signing up for if you're going into this.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say the mystery of what is going on with Scarlett Johansson is peeled back slowly with each victim. And believe me, this isn't the most complicated story, but there is a simplicity. We see a little more bit by bit. It's almost layered in a way that the situation builds. We have kind of one situation completed A to Z, then we have a larger situation A to Z again, and then we have the final layer of that. And the film is almost broken up in thirds in that way, that we're slowly peeling back what is actually going on with this. And I can't stress enough, I mean, it's a simple story, but this subtle engagement and the curiosity of what's going on, I mean, that is why I would call this an engaging plot. This is why I would say the slow burn is worth it. Because if you're going to be bored by this, that's what you're going to say is slow. If you're going to be engaged with it and it takes you on a ride and it takes you, a moment to kind of unpack it after those credits roll, that's slow burn for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because and basically I think engaging is the word. You know what I mean? It's a slow burn because it's engaging.
Yes.
And there's something there to it still.
Yep.
And a payoff or whatever it'd be at the end. It's all good to be along for the ride for this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last note, as far as some of what the film is, without spoiling too much, practical effects. I think this film is a great example of what we always preach with practical effects. Sure. Total brownie points, and I'll try my best maybe not to have it play into so much praise for the film, but there are really some callbacks to 2001: A Space Odyssey and how certain practical effects are done around the sci-fi elements.
Okay, that's cool.
We're talking about mixing paints with chemicals and smears and, reversing camera lenses. It's that is, how it's done. And I think if there's an argument of why I even like how A24-ish this film is and why it's worth it versus maybe something much slower in their catalog, there is an appreciation I have for, there's not a spot of CGI in this. It's all done through.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's
it's great.
Yeah.
And it's shocking for that reason.
It's so right up our alley for that. For 2013 film, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So give it a watch, though. It is certainly an odd one, but it is a bold horror film. You may not get all the answers you want initially, but pay attention to the structure of this story and the terror that will envelop you. We will go ahead and give Under the Skin an 80 on the dot.
Oh, I was thinking it sounds like it's going to be better than Do the Right Thing, but no, not quite.
Yeah, and this was previously rated, and if anything, I looked at it and I was like,
I don't remember this one. Damn.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this was like probably, I don't know, how far back.
Well, yeah.
I didn't see
that. I study that list. Boy, oh boy, do I study that list.
Night and day.
80. So it was 80 prior.
Yes, 80 prior and well-deserved
Fantastic.
80 here. And again, this is a type of movie that I had in a slot of, wow, I want to watch something I know I like and talk about it. And
yeah, it's important to get this on.
Yeah,
especially because you're a lover of sci-fi. We know we do sci-fi here. It's cosmic and it's good. It's important for us to put audio to it, I think.
Yeah,
and get this on the site. Yeah,
and maybe a good pocket example of why A24 films are worth it. Because not all of them are worth it.
We definitely have. Yeah, there's a bunch of A24 that does not hit so well.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought this was, in addition to me wanting to watch it, believe me, this was definitely a good watch, and give it a watch if you're into horror, you're into sci-fi.
And I think even more, I'm not that big into horror. I do like sci-fi though, for sure. But an 80%, I mean, it is. I think, for most people, most audiences, give it a watch.
Oh yeah,
I think it definitely will. I think it's time to. I feel like it's been shoved in my face anyway.
Yeah, you're so right.
Years.
It really was streaming fodder. No, it was streaming fodder for like so many years.
Yeah,
and Netflix specifically, I think.
Just the cover was always there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so 80% for Under the Skin, folks. So that was only 2 previously released. Our next 3 we have either in movies or just came out, kind of. So before we get to those films, folks, we're just going to go ahead in our donation segment, and we do have a producer for today, which is awesome. We have a producer that we've had before reproducing, which is awesome.
A fan of the show.
Yeah, definitely. This is Glenn R. coming in again. And he wrote in a note, Vin, he says, I was happy enjoying episode 45, the Predator series. When a third of the way through, my ears began to bleed.
Whoa.
When Vin gave Predator 2 a score of 78. Are you kidding me? A 78? Where that thing you do got a 52?
Oh, that's right. I got to go back
this
to the
guy's got he's not happy about the whole 52 thing. You can't let this one go. Come on, Vinny.
Yeah.
I wonder if Hasbro or Mattel put you up to this to sell more action figures. Vinny, it's time to get out of the chopper and parachute back down to reality. I would kindly suggest you give that thing you do another watch, and I'm sure this time you will be toe-tapping, finger-snapping, and singing along with the groovy tunes from the Oneaters.
Oh, man.
He goes, I mean the Wonders. And for all of those 2 fans out there who know the movie, that was a very good joke.
I even get that. That's good. That's good.
And he signed it T. Hanks. So, like we feared, this was Tom Hanks listening to our podcast.
Tom Hanks is a lifelong listener now.
Yeah. No, but Glenn, we thank you for the donation. $10 you gave, by the way.
Oh, wonderful.
Once again, you continue to produce the Daily Ratings. You're an executive producer of episode 46 here, and we appreciate it so much. Great note.
Yeah.
Always good to get some laughs here a little bit and everything like that.
Absolutely.
And people, if you're wondering what the hell this is, it's the producer segment. This is one way to thank all of you producers who are helping us keep this show going. So we are completely producer supported, meaning basically, we're going off the value for value model. Are you getting value from the podcast, from the website? Are you listening to it or getting into movies more? If so, could you go to thedailyratings.com, go to the donations tab, and if you can, just send some money our way, and it's whatever value that you want. It could be, we have set amounts that are fun. Glenn just felt like giving $10 to us today, so that was his value.
Bleeding, and I want to review.
And we appreciate it. That's why we call it the value for value model. We want to stay away from corporate advertising and everything like that. So to keep this going, obviously it's a good time. We're having fun doing it, but to really keep it going and grow like we want, we need help from you all. From you producers who are continuing to produce and those thinking about producing and going to produce, we thank you so much. We're excited that this is starting to take off a little bit. We hope to have more and more producers with every episode here. And again, if you can't produce, hey, tell somebody, get us in the conversation. That's where we want to be. We thank you so much for listening, producing, and that's kind of how we operate here. Again, it's dailyratings.com. Go to the donations tab, and we thank you all so much. But okay, Vince, so with that, we're going to go ahead, and we have 3 more films here when we're doing our in-theaters now, or at least released, and that's how we're going to start. This is an Apple release. This is Luck, and directed by Peggy Holmes. And is this Apple's first big push into the anime sphere, kind of trying to...
well, not anime, but animation.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Definitely, absolutely. I mean, this is Sundance Animation Studios. They're only 5 years old. This is their very first film.
Who? Sundance Animation?
No, or Skydance. My mistake.
Oh,
Skydance.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is a big push for this new animation studio. We'll get into a little bit of the industry talk because it is pretty fascinating, at least from my perspective.
Skydance has been around.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did Apple buy them, or they just paired up for this?
I don't know. I think they're probably just paired up for this release. Apple is definitely in the business of cutting deals for trying to get some exclusivity and content on them. And boy, I was not too excited to be back in the depths of Apple TV. I mean, I really do. I do
least
not
favorite?
like that. Yeah, it is definitely least favorite app. I think it is closely followed by Hulu, but not my favorite app.
And at least Hulu gave us Prey last week.
Yeah. That's true.
That's true. Apple TV gave us the likes of the awesome movie Finch.
Right.
Which
or even just like streaming. I won't get into it. It's too much. I'll get into a rant. This is a children's movie. It might be the most G-rated type of children's movie we've covered on the podcast.
Yeah, because we're not in PG. This is G.
Yeah, straight up G. Yeah. In this children's movie, we follow Sam, a orphan now entering adulthood with horrifically bad luck, but countered by her kind of hopeless optimism. This is the tone of this film is very, very optimistic, and I'll note a little bit later in the review, almost to the point that there's a lack of conflict. Even it is feel good 100%. There's not really even anything against Sam besides this, this bad luck, good luck side of it. She crosses paths with a black cat named Bob. Could have come up with a better name, but
I don't know, Bob the cat.
Yeah, Bob the cat. But instead of bad luck, finds that the cat is actually part of a secret magical organization that controls all of the good luck in the world. It's
kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It opens up quite a bit. Reminded me of maybe kind of a story format of like a Men in Black or something like that we have one expectation and then the doors get blown open on that. And
I was going to ask if it was any comparisons to Boss Baby. Cute character being
maybe,
something into something else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess it's more than just Men in Black.
Kind of, maybe not. Yeah.
But in that format of just that the story itself is about the bewilderment or the wonder of this new world and discovery of that.
Okay, gotcha.
You know? I have to say, I mean, the voice acting talent here, I think, was pretty great. Simon Pegg, definitely a favorite of mine. Whoopi Goldberg, Jane Fonda. It is a solid cast.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you know, even how much I loved the film, a total opposite of something we covered like Sea Beast, where I thought the voice matching was actually off.
It was the only thing you didn't like about it,
yeah,
really.
Yeah. So definitely positive marks here for the voice acting talent. I may be of two minds. Does that make a difference, practically speaking, for a G-rated film for an audience that is potentially a baby? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think my note here is that there is good character matching to, or rather, the voices match the characters. You know, I mean, they're just because it's a blockbuster or a high-paid actor in this doesn't mean it's always going to land. And I think Sea Beast was an example of that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so I watched some of Sea Beast, not the whole thing, but I wanted to check it out a little bit. And I would agree. What I don't agree with you on is choice of actors used.
Yes,
I actually don't have an issue so much with the voices there. Mm-hmm. Again, maybe because Carl Urban's the main guy. I very much like Carl Urban.
It's your boy.
Okay, I don't want to say it.
One of many.
But I what did throw me off and I didn't like was the voices and words matching up with mouth movement.
Yes.
Now that bothers me. And that is a mark on the movie for sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to actors playing the characters, I think it's very
Sure.
You have things like Toy Story where everyone loves it pretty much. No one's really saying, Tim Allen has Buzz. What? No one's really has an issue with that. I think with a lot of other movies and kind of second-rate kind of animation films like this, a little lesser known.
Maybe double A instead of triple A.
It comes down to the person watching. I want to say, for instance, Sea Beast, I didn't mind about it too much. The lip syncing though,
which is an odd thing for animation to have a problem with.
It is, yes, and it's odd to be taken out of an animation movie. Just like, look at that. I'm assuming not a problem here, though.
No. And if anything, again, for maybe the adults in the room watching this with your children, you can appreciate the, star-studded cast. Again, I mean, like Whoopi Goldberg, Jane Fonda, these are big names. It's going to fly for a kid's perspective because we don't have this lack of matching to it. Again, maybe that's too much of a deep dive, but definitely a positive note for luck specifically.
Okay, cool.
So, but like I said, most of the story we follow Sam discovering all the secrets of Luck World and Bad Luck World. Like I said, the structure here reminded me of a Men in Black, reminded me of a story that is just about the new reality this character walks into, and that's all it really needs to work. I will say this is, without a doubt, the most G-rated movie we've covered on the podcast so far. I mean, without a doubt. Not only is it very safe in tone, but has very little conflict at all in this film. Our characters are just kind of sidetracked. There's nothing really against them in the entire film. They're just sidetracked to maybe see more of the world. If that's the whole runtime, I don't say that's bad, but again, this that's where the G rating is coming from. You know what I mean? I would say this is probably a age 10 and under movie, which was, who am I watching this movie?
Right.
But, these new releases.
Probably weren't expecting quite that either.
Yeah. I expected maybe slight bad guy
a little
or
bit more
something like that.
Pixar-ish, which Pixar is usually good up until, maybe that's 16 and under or something like that.
Exactly.
As far as a prime audience, even though everyone can love it.
Absolutely. Sadly, the animation, I would say, looks like... I'm going to be honest. I mean, maybe it looks like Cocomelon or something like that. You look at the type of content being put in front of children, within the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years, and it has all become not cookie cutter, but of its own style. It is a very smooth look. Eyes are big, but they're not like anime per se. They're like of their own style, and I don't say
I consider it
Cocomelon
cutesy.
Sure.
When I look at this animation, I look at like the eyes and the face and everything like that. This is cutesy animation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't compare to Cocomelon without justification. I mean, they really are dominant in the market. I mean, they're going to be new Sesame Street. Basically,
it is crisp. It is crisp, and it is don't know. Was the movie vibrant at all?
Certainly vibrant.
Okay.
And definitely eye-grabbing as far as color design. I would just say it was cookie cutter as far as characters, though, and even when the more fantasy elements of the screen or of the film are introduced on screen, again, I mean, I don't know. This is obviously nowhere near my demographic, but I feel, again, I could not escape looking at this and saying, wow, almost strategically, I wonder if this studio was trying to make a Cocomelon type of style to get those kids interested. Okay. You know what I mean? They see this, they have no idea a different studio, you know, they have no idea anything about it. Yeah. So they just see it, it looks similar, they consume it, you know, it's there. Or the parents put it on, you know, in the background. And, you know, it shuts the kid up. So why don't we talk about that a little bit as far as industry? Like I said, Skydance Animation is very young, only 5 years old, and this is their first production. A lot of talent behind this team, including Disney Pixar veteran John Lasseter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a major score to get him.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of drama around him being canceled around 2018 and then landing here. I mean, you know,
I'm pro Lasseter.
Yeah, you're pro Lasseter? Okay.
Because I think when it came down to it, he was like he was a hugger.
Oh,
so
really?
when you go into the office, he's just like, he's happy and excited to see him. He's a hugger.
I see.
I thought that's what all he got hit with during the Me Too stuff.
I honestly have no idea.
And we should also say that he was like basically one of the guys started Pixar.
Oh,
he wasn't just like in Pixar and was big. He was the guy, correct?
Yes, I mean, you know, top three. I mean, John Lasseter is all over anime as well because Disney's licensing of a lot of Studio Ghibli, Lasseter actually introduces in the beginning of the film and kind of saying like how wonderful this movie is. So Lasseter is much more than just like a business professional or a creative type. He's definitely
everything. He's
I would kind of icon. I mean, I'm certainly his.
When you think about what Pixar did, it was him, Steve Jobs, and just one other creative guy, an animator who really started Pixar.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a note for me because to have someone of Lasseter's stature land in this new studio. I mean, again, his naysayers or those that are canceling him certainly don't want to see him land anywhere. For me, watching this children's movie, this actually evolved into a fun research project into all that is going on with this brand new studio. Right. So, and again, it was very G-rated, so I was looking for anything to
to keep it interesting. And we should say Skydance has been around. But
no,
this is the subject of Skydance Animation.
Yes,
bingo.
Yeah. And they've been only, 5 years old. And honestly, maybe I wouldn't make note of that in any other, subsidiary of a film studio if it wasn't animation. You know what I mean? We're talking about animation. It's kind of a whole different beast when it comes to the actual production of things here.
And I think that's why they subset it, or that's why it's its own thing.
Exactly.
You make it animation. I think Universal has Universal Animation. But maybe. I don't know. I get confused with it, but it really is.
Or maybe a good example, Sony Animation. Sony Pictures, as far as their movies, kind of bad universally. We're looking at Uncharted or something like that,
Right.
Sony Animations, they're doing things like Spider-Verse and, very, very, very cool things like that.
Oh, so. We've actually really been liking Sony lately.
Exactly.
But you're right, because animation, and we have talked about it before, it's so great that everyone is getting into the game.
Yes.
Because it's competition and it's more content.
Yeah.
Not that, there is something... We grew up in the age of once a year we got a new Pixar film.
Yep.
We were in the prime of that, which was awesome to have. And it was a big movie and it was huge. It was much more cultural. But now to have so many, it's so many different animation styles, so many different stories being told all at once for everybody. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that we have Skydance Animation, that's awesome. Just add it to the bin. Especially if you have a guy like Lasseter behind it, that's serious punch.
Sure. Our director comes from Disney talent as well. I think this studio could be beyond some of this surface level drama, and that's really not to belittle the cancellation of Lasseter. I think it's surface level in the fact that he is clearly working and continuing to work with other people, so he's gonna have a career still. I think the best thing is to look at the quality of productions and what is coming out of this studio, judge it by the merits, and again, I think maybe having talent around this, again, I was maybe going to knock this film for for looking so generic, but I think there maybe is a strategy to these, again, not to overcompare, but these Cocomelon kind of visuals to the artistic style of this film. Maybe that's a strategic choice to, once again, create some recognition among the G-level demographics that you are going to be, marketing to. That's going to be actually watching this film.
Definitely.
So, by no means a bad film, though, and if anything, might catch the eye of a child at home for the visual similarity in maybe browsing some of the thumbnails of Apple TV. Not that there's many, you know what I mean? It's kind of a graveyard already. But for the ratings, I can't put this much more higher than middle of the road. I would say understand this is a feel-good G-rated film that aims to only please. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. I was not finding a electricity to maybe recommend it higher than middle of the road. We're going to go ahead and give Luck a 55.
55, yeah, very middle of the road. Very, you gave it a few points above because it's not an average movie.
It's definitely not an average movie.
It's a tick above,
And if only for the voice acting talent being, top level, I think that might be the sole enjoyment for a adult in the room.
Right. Sure.
So, because I was enjoying that, certainly.
Okay, all right. So that was Luck with a 55%. Now we're going to move on to a film that's just came out in theaters. This is Idris Elba in Beast. And what is...
He's laughing.
I am laughing. I love Idris Elba.
Oh, yes.
I don't know about that. I don't know about this movie. What did we get with Beast?
Generic title. Yeah.
Yes, generic looking, generic title.
Yeah, this is...
No one even knows about it.
Yeah, honestly, what was the marketing budget? I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not doing well.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do we get with Beast?
Yeah, grateful for a new release to put on the podcast. That's what we get. Beast is Cujo with a lion. That is it, folks. And in ways, I think a lot of the talk around this film is kind of meant to be almost like a TV release or something like that, or something that you will catch on TV. And unfortunately, I really do agree with that almost wholeheartedly. The feel of the setting in this film is Savannah survival. We are with Idris Elba as a single dad that is a doctor and has two moody girls. In addition to the lion being a force of nature, being the conflict in this, the characters make plenty of stupid decisions in kind of a horror thriller sense. It makes an attempt at interweaving family drama within this lion attack. It's an attempt in the script to make the lion deadlier than it is. Some of that lethality is really where I'm going to be taking my knives out on this film, because it goes from this lion being fully lethal as a lion would be, and then we flip it on and off when we need to for our main characters, basically.
It's funny. Mm-hmm. Last week we covered Prey.
Yep.
And I was thinking the entire time of a movie that came out years ago, kind of when we were a little bit younger, also named Prey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was about like Jessica Alba and their child stuck in a van with the lion outside. The same exact premise as Beast.
Next week, they read your mind.
Was it able to do anything with this genericness? Was it able to do anything interesting? Something that was like, okay, this is at least I'm enjoying this element.
I would say it's pretty well shot.
Pretty looking. Okay.
Yeah. The film really tries to make these fake one takes or these oneers. There's clearly a digital blend in the edit to stitch these sequences together. But it was a highlight for me. If anything, kind of, it made me think much more positively about the film, that when I just kind of sat down and I wrote the review, I was like, wait a second, I don't like this film.
Okay.
But the cinematography, and obviously that's important, that's how we're really consuming things. And I do want to give credit to trying a lot of, one-shot takes, smart digital blends to the edits. I did enjoy that aspect to it. So,
okay, cool.
First 20 minutes is a very condensed, and I mean condensed, folks, of a family drama drama around Idris and the kids. The older teen daughter hates the dad because she's a teen daughter. And overall, it felt very blah as far as the writing here. Maybe not manipulative writing like I have called out recently on some reviews, but certainly not enough runtime to be fleshed out in any sort of significant way. Like I said in the intro, the family drama is used to create conflict within the survival stakes. But more often it comes off ridiculous to be hashing out family issues during a lion attack. It's like, I don't trust you, Dad. You lied to us. When you lied to us, and there's a lion beating on the window. It's like, what the what's going on here? I feel like I've already been saying in within this episode, but not to over compare. When we look at Cujo, which we covered on the podcast through the Stephen King kind of study, Cujo front-loaded all the family drama, so it could focus on the line itself. To a certain extent, I do think this is a little bit of a better screenplay than Cujo, or at least that original one. I don't know if there was a remake. Yeah, because
better screenplay?
It's at least it's weaving the drama in and out, and I think there's a better craft to that. It's easier to front load all that family drama, and then we're just focusing on the event itself.
Sure, but having the family drama, like you said, like the girls being upset with their father about something with the line right outside.
Exactly. It invites new problems to it,
But you would still pick this screenplay.
I don't know. I think there's... It's definitely, I would say, much more of a modern type of script, a modern type of plot to weave these things within the single point of action.
So there's pros and cons to it, basically.
Yeah.
And where it was good, it was good.
Exactly.
But where it was bad, it was bad.
It has new problems that the original, as far as the format that it's trying to rip off, it just simply does not have. Yeah, I mean, it is just... There is just such a silliness to, you lied to us at such and such age, Dad. And then, it's 3 feet of a lion, goring someone. So it is also rated R. I don't know. I expected almost it to be PG-13 in the sense that it's so kind of kid-focused.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Dumb kid character writing is on full display here. The younger daughter wasn't too bad, but the older one is really put into such frustrating situations and scenarios by the plot. Frustrating is really the word here, because I'm not really blaming even her performance as a young adult actor. I'm blaming why the character is put into these type of scenarios, because I think anyone is going to have kind of a bullshit meter with this. So yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating is the word. Let's talk about the lion. It is a full CGI lion. They are all full CGI lions, and of course. Of course, I understand this idea is only possible with CGI. This is not like a Siegfried and Roy type of scenario or something. I don't know how you train lions to attack people on, stunt lions. I don't know. Maybe there's a business out there for stunt lions. But
I don't know. I think there's a better movie out there that's
maybe
based on a true story. There's a famous lion thing in Africa. Yeah, it was attacking an actual camp of men that were of workers. Yeah, and they got the taste of humans, so they had started to hunt humans.
Okay.
It's the whole thing.
Okay, maybe that'll be on next
Well, maybe that's
watch.
how you do it.
Yes,
yeah.
Maybe you cut away from the camera and you leave something to the imagination, But I don't know. It just plain does not look good. If anything, it's a little bit south of the already spotty CGI that we covered in the Animals of Prey, but now it is the whole focus, A big problem with this CGI is, I don't know. I mean, it is the hot African savanna. It is bright.
Yeah.
It is one color. There's very little shadow work, and there's almost a simple principle in CGI that the darker it's going to be, the more that's going to lend favorably to the visuals. So that is not here because of the setting, and I'm not blaming the setting. Certainly it's novel to an extent. Certainly it's amped up from, a Cujo. Guess what? We're now in the middle of nowhere and whatnot. So it's just hard. Again, this film kind of makes problems for itself. More than anything, my biggest issue is the lethality. The injuries are a big problem with this film. A line wound will kill a side character in a single swipe. When it's our main characters, maybe not. Maybe it's a surface level scratch.
Right.
I was actually going to give a lot of praise once again to Idris being a doctor in this, and it's interesting seeing his character try to track down medical supplies and try to fix other people. There's a lot there that they try to work with, but sadly, the story just flips it on and off. The lethality, that is, flips it on and off when it needs to, and for the most important moments of tension and the make it or break itness of the plot, the lethality is definitely off. It just recognizes it in the character. He gets kind of slashed up at one point, and his daughter points it out, and he goes, "Oh, that's nothing." Where a similar wound, he's racing to wrap gauze around it and clean it and disinfect it. And
right.
I liked that they were true to the character. It's a doctor character, so he's going to be operating like a doctor, but it's like, well, you're not playing by your own rules, Doc. Like, it's ridiculous. So it's really not all bad. Like I said, some technical side of the cinematography I appreciated here, but sadly everything else is very forgettable about this film. It is almost a perfect film for TV fodder that you'll catch a bit and say, hey, this is like Cujo with a lion, and promptly forget about every other aspect besides that very simple elevator pitch. We're going to go ahead and give Beast a 47.
47. Yeah, I think it makes complete sense.
Yeah. And again, I'm almost upset that it is such a mixed bag, because there are certainly things to praise here, but I think paradoxically, the praise I would even give it invites two problems. It's like one good thing, two bad things come along with it.
Yeah. No. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense that's why it's doing what it is at the box office.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Top Gun Maverick is
Still
more than
swinging.
half. Still swinging.
Evergreen until 2024.
I was just Beast had 11.6 million, and Top Gun's still pulling down. At 6 itself.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
But anyway, okay, so that's Beast with 47%. I do have to take back my Jessica Alba Prey note. It was not Jessica Alba. It was some nobody actress.
Okay.
Same exact premise, though.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. But okay, so we're going to move on to what we think. We were kind of talking before the show. Which one do we first do? Do we do Beast? Do we do Dragon Ball?
Yes.
Because it's like they both kind of came out. What's bigger? What's being promoted more? We don't know, but this one is doing better.
Yeah, you'd think it would be Beast, but Dragon Ball's
just
sweeping it.
Yes. So this is Dragon Ball Superhero.
You have a bad title. They should have just done Dragon Ball Super.
It is clunky. Well, the original title was Doragon Boro Superhero.
Wow.
Was that good?
Bilingual, Tom. Yeah. Very good. Pronouncing all these names in the intro. You're getting good.
But no, so this is once again another story in the Dragon Ball universe. So if you could, for us, maybe go through how is this all connected between the show, the multiple series, and now like multiple movies going on?
Absolutely.
Just if you could go through that briefly, kind of.
Yeah, so there are 4 main eras of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z, technically Dragon Ball GT, which is kind of, rubber stamped.
Those were all shows, correct?
Yes, all shows, and Dragon Ball Super. Now, to each of these eras, there are movies attached to those eras. And the good thing is that we only really need to worry about one other movie with Dragon Ball Super, which was Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Right.
This was actually something that we covered in a proto episode of the podcast that
we have to find it. I'm sure it's around.
Probably won't see the light of day. I don't know. It was like early test runs, folks, of the podcast. So,
but the biggest thing to note is we're going to be getting these Dragon Ball Super, other name, and this just happens to be Dragon Ball Superhero.
And bingo.
Now, through all of these, you said 4 iterations, correct? Mm-hmm. So through all these 4 iterations, it seems like we're dealing with the same characters, right? We have Piccolo and Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah, absolutely. Goku's sons, absolutely.
What would you say was the biggest that took off in the States? That was the second iteration? Was that Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball Z, absolutely.
And Dragon Ball was early 90s or late 80s?
So it took off in the States in the early to mid 2000s through Cartoon Network and Toonami.
Early
and
2000s
like
for sure.
Yeah.
I was saying like original
run, we're talking Dragon Ball 1 Dragon Ball was mid 80s to late 80s, and then Dragon Ball Z. Yes, in Japan.
Yeah.
Original run, basically. We'll talk about it. and Dragon Ball Z is now in early 90s to I think 97 it technically ran.
And in the States I think it was big late 90s, early 2000s.
Exactly.
And then there was
re-releasing
GT,
it
right.
kind of bred new life into it altogether. So, and I'll say, folks, normally we wouldn't cover an anime series follow-up film for the podcast, in addition to not wanting the homework of potentially hundreds of episodes, which I do not have the time for.
It's so true, yeah.
Or the interest for. I feel most of the time these series feature films are often just kind of fan service, final send-offs for the show. A good example of this is the Demon Slayer movie, a very new anime, came into the States, and we didn't cover it because it was just kind of for the final send-off of that show. So, this movie is really no exception to that, but nearly the whole runtime is to creating a fun or badass setups for characters, and I would say Dragon Ball is a little bit of a different beast. It is one of the biggest animes of all time, and maybe that shows in the box office that it's beating, Beast maybe is a great competition.
Not by much. Okay. It's only made $20 million, but then again, it did make $20 million.
Yeah. And a wide release. This had multiple theater showings, dedicated theaters towards the Japanese and then the English dub of it.
Very cool.
So, again, I want to kind of give props to that because the scale of itself and certainly what I'll talk about in a moment, my theater experience was next level. Like it was
for this.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it was
man.
a wonderful theater experience.
Yeah.
Honestly.
How did it smell?
Don't be mean.
Go ahead. You want to get into it right away with the theater experience?
No. We'll put that off for a second.
Okay,
let me talk a little bit more about the movie before we talk about things around the movie. Honestly, I would say, folks at home, if you find that you have not watched Dragon Ball since you were a kid, maybe you watched Dragon Ball Z back in the day and you haven't kept up with it, this film is very strategically geared towards in that way because it is kind of a callback to older storylines in multiple ways, to that original Dragon Ball run with the villains being around the Red Ribbon Army, which is basically like an evil corporation that makes androids, and Dragon Ball Z around the characters, specifically to a saga called Cell Saga. Instead of us normally focusing on are the two main characters of Goku and Vegeta. I mean, if you know anything about Dragon Ball, it's Goku. Instead, they are on a little bit of a side plot. We check in with them basically once in the film, and they're dealing with the aftermath of what the previous film was with Dragon Ball Broly, or Dragon Ball Super Broly. Mm-hmm. What comes into play here is we get kind of the B team stepping up, which I found refreshing. We focus on Piccolo and Gohan. Gohan is Goku's son, and Piccolo is a mentor character in Gohan's life.
You consider them B team?
Oh yeah.
Because Piccolo was always like the Mace Windu of Dragon Ball.
Comparison.
I should maybe back off.
He's trying. I like it.
I was a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I have not watched anything in probably 15 years, so I do want to make that note.
It's definitely become strictly Goku Vegeta show.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Piccolo is definitely there.
You see what I'm saying? With Dragon Ball Z days.
Yes, and that's why I think this is a.
He was shy of having a purple lightsaber, basically. I mean, right? I think that comparison.
I like it. I'm not a huge Dragon Ball fan, but hey, I will roll with it. I like it. Mace Windu.
Okay, all right. But for this newer iteration of films in Dragon Ball Super, they are B team. We don't see them much. Maybe
they're in the background. The fights are always the
boys.
Exactly. And if anything, Dragon Ball Super is about pushing the power levels of the fights higher and higher, and that's only going to be achievable by our main duo, basically.
Okay.
Certainly that was the focus for Dragon Ball Z Super Broly, and I think more than anything, my point in bringing this B team up, that they're tackling maybe a little bit lesser stakes of a story. It's not the end of the universe. I think it's strategically, the film is positioned with not only a wide release, it's positioned with, having both English and Japanese dubs in theaters. It's also focusing on characters that are maybe more nostalgic for those DBZ fans that haven't touched base with the series sometimes. And they say, oh, wow, this is in theater. Maybe let me check this out.
Honestly,
they're going to feel right at home.
I think if I sat down in the theater, it would be nostalgia. The feelings of nostalgia would be crazy. Correct me if I'm wrong, the same voice actors too.
Yes, I did see this in English dub just because I am so nostalgic of that.
Right.
So, Dragon Ball is one of those where the English dub is almost equivalent to the Japanese.
Yes, and was it the same U.S. dub from back in the day?
Yes. You're going to get the same voice actors or at least very, very similar.
That's a big deal.
Absolutely. But you kind of get my point in saying that, the story may not be on the same level as Broly, and you can say, well, why am I wasting my time? And the same way, it's strategic. I think the film's production is very strategic for what their demographic of who may stumble into a theater in one of these and feel all right with the content.
Just hearing this, this is the first Dragon Ball content that literally has probably come out in 15 years that I'm actually, my ears are perked up by it.
Really? Okay. I think that's phenomenal.
Well, because I was a Dragon Ball Z kid, kind of, and I really did get into it. The fact that this is, I think I'm the person that this would be targeted for, saying, whoa, no, this is callback, this is nostalgia, this is good.
Yep, absolutely. Like we kind of already really focused on a brief catch-up. The silver lining here is that whether you watch a DB Super or any of Dragon Ball Z, or any of Dragon Ball, I should say, there is, a lot of catch-up work in this film to catch us up on, those that have not seen the previous film, those that are wondering, hey, where are our main characters of Goku and Vegeta? And I would say, again, I think it really is a brilliant move to attach this to nostalgia of other iterations of Dragon Ball for those that may come into this. And guess what? If you're not and you're completely, lost without a paddle, there is a lot of recap work to get us up to speed quickly. Normally, I would knock recap work, but when is it more appropriate with a film with a series that's been running since early '80s?
Absolutely, it's so true.
Maybe there's some practicality to that. A little bit of give and take for it, because again, was I loving the recap work? No. Do I think it's a stellar writing? No. But maybe it's useful.
Okay.
And I think that's important to note. So the biggest factor here is that the new animation of this is CGI. It's 3D models with the CGI over. And Tom's giving me a look. We already covered bad CGI, But in the previous film, this was actually used stylistically, and in that proto episode, I was really raving about the fact that we were normally animated for all of the film, and then when the power levels get to a certain point, stylistically, they use 3D to create a higher phonetic energy to the fighting. That is not here, however, and the 3D, you are going to see it first. I'm going to be real. You are going to have a physical reaction to this CG because they're making you dive in the deep end. If anything, the CG gets less intense as the film goes on. I know. Even with the more the backloaded fights to this film, but they really want to sell that this 3D cell shaded anime CG is that's the way this is going. It's the entire film, action sequences or not. I think it's kind of something that you have to see for yourself. Again, that first 20 minutes, it's just so in your face. Camera movements are so blown out of proportion that it's almost impossible not to have an opinion on it, I feel.
Okay.
But I will say, much like it paid off in the previous film for the higher energy, more frenetic fight sequences, guess what? It's in every fight sequence now. So it's not necessarily bad. It just loses some of those points for style that they specifically held off for that final power level of the last film.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed. I thought that was a cool use of art style and storytelling. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think absolutely.
Yeah. But it's, I will say it's worth your time by the end. Really, more than anything, there is a huge amount of hype by these last 40 minutes. The theater was there to respond for it. I will say the second half, while it may be great and exactly what I wanted, that first half is very messy. Despite more budget-friendly animation, there's just a lot of talking. It's just a lot. And maybe that ties into a lot of the recap work as well.
So, okay, it's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, it's just a lot of dialogue. And granted, anime is absolutely known for that. Talking heads to save on budget.
Right.
But man, this it just made me wonder that if they're going with this CGI, it's going to be better, for how they're producing this film, how they're making this film, as far as the studio. Why are we still getting... why is this not packed to the brim with fights? I wanted it to be 90% fights, where that first solid hour, we maybe get 1.5 fights, and then last 40 minutes, it is a barrage of fights.
Okay.
So... Granted, it's worth when we get there.
Yeah,
but...
and for me, I would probably like it a little bit more, the exposition, the catching me up a little bit,
sure.
But I can understand how, especially if it's an hour long and you're only dealing with an hour and 40, it is something where it's like, all right, let's get to it.
Exactly. And maybe it's where returning to the series so late, that's where I was maybe a little bit annoyed with some of the storytelling. For instance, how the Dragon Balls are used in this B plot. Or in this kind of B-team story. It has to be inconsequential, otherwise it would have more kind of impact to the overall story. Yeah, it's just a little idiotic is all. So, but, I don't know. I think that's maybe a comment for what is your personal tolerance with anime, and if that last 40 minutes is really going to be worth it for you. I will say, though, let me end with talking about this theater experience. It was a packed theater. Energy was in the air. No smells, Tom.
Sure.
I'm surprised you said that. See you again.
Well, I mean, I think it's cool that everyone, dropped their Yu-Gi-Oh plans to come see this movie and fill the theater.
These are dated now. You're showing your millennial.
I don't care. Yeah. Is my millennial showing?
Yeah. But it was something that was really electric in the theater. And when the lights go off, what comes on the screen? But DC League of Super Pets. It was a total theater mix-up. We watched a good 15 minutes of DC League of Super Pets, which we didn't cover on the podcast. So I was scrambling to make notes. I was like, oh boy,
just real time.
Who directs this? Who writes it? And,
you didn't tell me this.
Oh no! But it was honestly great. It created such camaraderie in the theater. People were cracking jokes. We were like, "Oh, I'm really trying to pay attention to this." It was great.
Okay, all right.
It created such a 10 out of 10 theater experience for when the film finally came on. I mean, it must
have been like, woo!
Oh, yeah. It was really great. I would say one of the definitely top 3 theater experiences of the year. And I'm not one to put credit in that.
I'm trying to think what the other ones would be.
Yeah, I don't know either, actually.
It sounds like one of the better ones out of the past few years.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there was just so much... even in those meh moments of that first hour, it helped me see that the kids were leaning forward. In
right.
The theater.
Yeah.
The adults were cheering at fan servicey moments and callbacks to all of the series. Much how this maybe helped me navigate a children's film or something like, Crawdads Sing or something like that, where I'm not necessarily demographic. I was kind of 50-50 in this one. But boy, I think it illustrated, watch this one with friends if you are going to watch it.
Or in theaters, because I'm sure you're going to get those for 1 or 2 more weekends.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So there was a lot of hype to it. And why I described maybe that last 40 minutes of hype, I mean, there was rooting for it.
Yeah.
And there
it was electric in the theater. That's a true cinema theater experience.
Exactly.
So often, there's a guy snoring next to you, in case of my point, watching Top Gun.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, The Matrix was there was a guy snoring so loud. I mean, so loud. It was like true tense moments of dialogue. And in between breaks, just the most... one guy in the back goes, "Wake him up!"
No, he did not.
It was hilarious.
Oh my God.
No, in Maverick, somebody was like just leaking out of his sinuses next to me, and it was gross and loud. Then he took a phone call halfway through the theater.
No way.
Anyway,
Oh, man.
you're gonna get those, but as I hope we all
Yeah.
get back to the cinema, we all understand that there's a purpose to keep things offline. This was one of those reasons.
Yeah, and so unique for, an anime wide release. There was such camaraderie among the theater for all ages.
Yeah.
It really
Very,
was.
very cool.
And hey, maybe it needed that mess up in the beginning to kind of get us all on the same page.
Absolute icebreaker.
Yeah, exactly. It really was an icebreaker, but this definitely was, once again, one for the fans, maybe lends to more of not a boys watch, but watch with fans. So maybe if you are needing some gaps filled, guess what? They're there. You have kind of a subject matter expert with you. When the hype comes, when the moments on screen really bring a lot of energy, you're able to feel that energy around you. And I think that's why even positionally we put this after Beast, because it's beaten it slightly in the box office, but I think Dragon Ball Super really pulled out something interesting here as far as a wide release. Like I've said in the past with these theater notes, it's not really necessarily affecting my rating too much. It is something that I'm noting. If you are interested in this, watch it in theaters, give it some love, and bring some friends along with it. We're going to go ahead and give Dragon Ball Superhero a 63.
Okay, 63%, good score, and I don't know, I'm kind of interested in seeing this. I'm glad that you enjoyed the theater experience. I'm glad there was something there, that this franchise is still, there is some sort of life to this. We're not in the 30s or 40s. This isn't Drudge or anything like that.
Sure.
There's something here at least to be added.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's very, very cool. But okay, Vin, looking at these scores, is there anything you'd like to add or roll credits here?
No, I think we've given enough as far as that theater experience, so let's go ahead and roll it.
All right, folks. Well, at home here, Vin, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the movies. And folks at home, we're going to run it down one more time here. We have Do the Right Thing with an 83%, Under the Skin with an 80%, Luck with a 55%, Beast with a 47%, and Dragon Ball Superhero with a 63%. Folks, we thank you so much for listening, and we thank you for producing as well. And we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating. Or tell a friend about us. If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors. So we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.